my god, it's huge. Oh, on a brick. It's time to build the ultimate all AMD gaming PC build inside Corsair's brand new monstrous iCUE 7000X. This build is gonna be insane. In this video, as always, I'm gonna cover off all of the components we chose and why, put the system together from start right through to finish, and then boot it up and see how it performs in the biggest titles out there. A big thanks to Gigabyte and AMD for helping make today's video possible, but let's do this. Let's start things off by installing as many components onto the motherboard as possible, and really build out the core of the system. The motherboard in question is Aorus's X570 Master. Now this board from Gigabyte is absolutely bonkers. It really does make the case for X570 in 2021, and you can read our full written review on the website in the cards section now. It really is worth a peruse, as we would say here in the UK, and it's a great board that's got Gen 4 support, a built-in rear IO shield, plenty of RAM DIMM slots, and all in all, a great design that works well for our system. I'm going to pair it up with AMD's Ryzen 9 5900X as our CPU choice for today's system. This really is a fantastic chip with bundles of single and multi-threaded performance that blows the latest Core i9 options, frankly, out of the water. It's insane, it's bonkers, and it only comes second to AMD's own 5950X, which is still out of stock in a lot of places, so the 5900X, I mean, we'll have to do, chaps, won't it, really? Once the processor's in, we can move on to the RAM. 32GB of Corsair's Dominator Platinum RGB will work really well. It's got their Capellix RGBs on as well, which means it is super duper bright and will look great in the system. This kit is only a 3200MHz kit, but we'll be able to overclock it no problem in our Gigabyte Aorus Master BIOS up to 3600MHz to make sure we get that full Ryzen performance. One thing you'll find with expensive RAM is just how heavy it is. This stuff weighs an absolute ton, although it looks awesome with this stealthy black aesthetic, and as I say, it's going to light up like a Christmas tree a little bit later on. Lovely jubbly. And that moves us nicely on to the final component to install before we go ahead and look at Corsair's brand new 7000 series chassis, and that is of course the SSD. Now you can go for basically any drive, but the Corsair MP600 core is a really great bet. We featured it in a recent water-cooled build where we water-cooled this exact SSD, so go and check that video out. But it's great. It's got a nice beefy heatsink to keep things cool, although our motherboard does actually have some M.2 covers as well, and with speeds in the region of about 4,000 megabytes per second, so about 4 gig a second on the Gen 4 platform, it does the job without breaking the bank. So happy days all around when it comes to our M.2 storage. Lovely stuff. I've just seen a sticker on the case that says it's very heavy. Fine, I'm not afraid. Although it does actually say somewhere, 2-person lift. That's okay, because we've got a few people in the office, but I know other YouTubers out there might struggle. So I'm going to channel their spirit and act solo. I'm going to break my back. I'm going to lift up this. Oh my god, that is heavy. This is not good form though, is it really? Here we go. And plop our Corsair iCUE 7. Oh my god, it's huge. The iCUE 7000X on the table. Now this is one of Corsair's new flagship chassis. It builds on the success of the 4000 series and the 5000 series, both of which we'd featured, so I'll leave a playlist of all that content in the cards section now. I think the best course of action really is to take this out the box carefully as a solo man, not as a two-man job, and have a look what it looks like. Oh my god, it's huge. Some bonus points for Corsair already, as both of the side panels are actually hinged, which is going to make life a lot easier. There's just a single screw to remove, and then we can pop them both out the way and actually get our build built up. It looks as well like from the front, we have actually got a triple GPU mount here if we wanted to do a vertical mount. We've then got our normal arrangement of PCIe lanes, plenty of radiator mounting support at the top of the case, with a large 140mm RGB fan at the back, and then 3 140mm at the front. This thing's going to be nice and cool. We've got a window as well for our power supply. That's unique. Never seen that before. It's actually glass rather than just a cutout. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take these side panels off, I think. Oh my Christ. Corsair, what are you making this out of? Like bloody graphite or something? That weighs an absolute ton. No wonder the case is 15 bleeding kilograms. Oh, on a brick. I don't think I've ever seen a $300 full-size ATX motherboard look so small before, but it does, and it looks good, and it is installed. The next component then we're going to put in is our CPU cooler, and if you thought we were finished with brand new component releases, you would be wrong, because this is the new Corsair iCUE H170i Elite Capellix. Now this is a really beefy 420mm cooler. These fans are not 120, they are 140s. We have three 140mm fans, making this one of the most insane coolers I've ever used. Make sure to get subscribed if you aren't already and keep your eyes peeled on the website because we will publish a full review of this cooler very shortly once we've finished faffing about building in the world's biggest PC case. Let's go ahead and unbox our cooler and as I say, try and install it at the top of the case, but we'll see how that goes. Oh, you beauty! Look at that. That looks to me like it's definitely going to fit. And we can go ahead and just screw it into place. And then we'll pop the fans on the underside, pulling air through the radiator and out of the chassis itself. That looks totally ridiculous, but awesome with those huge 140mm fans. All we've got to do then is just pop our CPU water block on to our AMD motherboard. I really like the mounting installation Corsair use on their H series of coolers. It's really simple. You just add on these little kind of O-shaped brackets and they clip onto the mounting hardware that's already installed on the AMD motherboard. Super simple, takes a little bit of time, but when you're used to it, it's a really efficient system. I was about to install the power supply, and then I remembered I picked up this 4TB Ironwolf Pro hard drive. Big shout out to Seagate for sending this over for the video. It's going to work great as mass storage for our video editing software and games. This case actually has 6 hard drive installation slots, which is a bit mad, but that makes this case great for, say, a video editor who needs lots of storage. This chassis is all about taking the 5000 series, which is already pretty massive, and just adding on every conceivable feature you could possibly want. So let's go ahead and install the hard drive, and then we can move on to the power supply. Now, I've picked up Corsair's RM850x. It's an 850 watt unit. This one's got white braided cables, so maybe that will add a bit of a two-tone aesthetic to our system today, and it has just about enough wattage for our 6900 XT and our Ryzen 9. You don't quite need 1000 watts for a build like this, especially when the power supply is 80 plus gold rated and has a 10-year Corsair guarantee. And with our all AMD system looking really good, it brings us nicely on to the graphics card, AMD's Radeon RX 6900 XT. Now, we've only ever done one build with the 6900 XT, so I'm looking forward to revisiting it, especially as stock and availability starts to improve. This card has a whopping 16 gigabytes of video memory, and of course is a beast for 4K gaming at 60 FPS and beyond. Keep your eyes peeled though, because in a moment's time we're going to take a deep dive into the performance of this system, testing everything from temperatures, CPU benchmarks, to of course the performance of this Radeon 6900 XT. Let's go ahead, take it out of the box and see what it looks like in our chassis choice today, which has got to be the most exciting part of any system. Quite a nice cooler design on this card from Gigabyte as well. We've got 3 8-pin PCI power connectors. Holy moly! We've got a really nice I/O of ports with this nice 3-fan cooler at a price point that doesn't come in much past MSRP of the reference card. Now, the chassis does have a vertical GPU mount, so we could place it here if we wanted, but I'm thinking I might install a capture card in this PC later, do something like that, so I might actually just pop it in one of our generic PCIe slots. I think the build as well is going to look absolutely awesome. This system is definitely primed for full water cooling, so if you'd like to see me do another custom loop, maybe a hardline one this time, in this immense Corsair chassis, let me know in the comments down below. Let's go ahead though and install our graphics card and then boot the system up to see how good it looks when it's all powered up and of course how it performs. Roll that montage and I'll see you in a second. Awesome stuff. Now we've seen how good the system looks when it's all powered up, as ever, we're going to take a quick swizz at the performance. On your screen, first up is a summary, kind of a snapshot view of all the games we tested out and the frame rates we were able to achieve. We're going to take a closer look at some of these titles in depth, and we're going to start off with GTA 5. At 4K high settings, we got 120 frames a second on average, with 104 and 95 for the 90 and 99th percentile results, with visually the game looking great at 4K. It's a similarly positive story with Watch Dogs Legions. 4K high settings gave us just shy of 80 FPS on average, tested as ever with both NVIDIA FrameView and MSI Afterburner's Riva Tuner. It's a similarly positive story with Apex Legends. At 4K high settings, we got 155 FPS on average, which is not bad considering we've cranked the game up right to high. If frame rate though is what you're after, the next title is the one for you. It is of course Valorant. At 4K high settings, we got 330 frames a second, which is absolutely bonkers. Next up is Cyberpunk 2077, a game that many people wrongly believe only works well on NVIDIA cards. In fact, at 4K, with AMD's Visual Fidelity FX enabled, we got just shy of 90 FPS on average, and as you'd expect, the game looked pretty phenomenal actually, despite of course the lack of any ray tracing. The penultimate title today then is Fortnite, and we tested this by popular demand at 1080p competitive settings. In fact, we got 325 FPS on average with strong 90 and 99th percentile results, and this is of course the settings config you should be using if you're really looking to max out your frame rate in Fortnite. That brings us nicely on to the final title today, Call of Duty's Warzone. At 4K high settings, I got an impressive 124 FPS on average with strong 90 and 99th percentile results, which show consistently strong FPS in Call of Duty's Warzone. And with that, that just about wraps it up for today's video. If you did enjoy it, give it a big old like rating, make sure to get subscribed. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.